Welcome to our new series, World History on the Map. Today we are zooming in on Britain and the Industrial Revolution. This video lines up with the A-level curriculum AS European option, but it also plays nice with AP World History, AP European History, and IB History. Different courses, same big ideas and skills. In this series, maps do the heavy lifting. We'll also sprinkle in photos, charts, mind maps, screenshots like this, and primary sources along the way. Since today is all about Britain, let's start with some quick map basics. Look at Britain on the world map. You spot Great Britain and Northern Ireland. That's the green part. Your eye also catches lots of tiny red dots and even a red block far away here. These are the UK's overseas territories. Yes, they still exist. Around Britain, you also see a few blue dots. Those are the Crown dependencies. They are not part of the UK, but they are linked to the British Crown. So, why does Britain still have red bits scattered around the globe? One of the reasons, the Industrial Revolution. It turned Britain into the workshop of the world in the 1800s, supercharged its economy, and helped power imperial expansion. That said, most of the big colonies like here, they became independent in the 20th century. What's left today are mostly small territories. Think tiny islands, not giant continents. Now, basic location. Britain sits off the west coast of Europe, separated from France by the English Channel. Close neighbors, separate shores, close enough to argue, far enough to cool off. Some names get confusing, so let's clear them up fast. First, the British Isles. That's the big geographic label for the whole island group. Great Britain, Ireland, and lots of smaller islands. Next, the United Kingdom, the country. Its full name is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. In short, the UK or just Britain. The UK has one land border. Northern Ireland borders the Republic of Ireland. Now, what is Great Britain? It's the big island that holds England, Scotland, and Wales. Add Northern Ireland and you have the 4 countries of the UK: England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Yes, they are called countries inside the UK. Quick recap. British Isles, the broad island group. Great Britain, the big island with England, Scotland, and Wales. United Kingdom, Great Britain plus Northern Ireland, the actual country. All set on the map? Great, because now we are watching how Britain's coal canals, cotton and capital kicked off a revolution that reshaped the entire planet. Let's dive in. The first question in any unit on the Industrial Revolution is simple. Why did it happen? And maybe another question that hits harder. Why did Britain take off first? Short answer, it wasn't one magic switch. It was a stack of buffs. Agricultural change, capitalism, machines, transport, and geography all piling up until Britain became the first country to beat the game of industrialization. Heads up, in this video, we'll mention a few non-geography ideas, but our focus is how places and spaces shaped the Industrial Revolution. If you want the full mind map, I'll show you how to get it at the end. On screen, you'll just see small snapshots from the full mind map as we go. Alright, start with agriculture and one giant shift enclosure. In the 1700s, enclosure merged lots of tiny scattered strips of land into big privately owned farms. Bigger plots plus new techniques lead to higher crop yields and better livestock. That meant steady food and raw materials for industry. But there's a plot twist. Small farmers get booted. Question for you watching, where do they go? Correct, cities. Factories need hands, towns balloon like air mattresses, and the Industrial Revolution high fives enclosure. Next, crop rotation. Crop rotation cranked up efficiency even more. Before 1750, farmers mostly used the open field system, let one strip nap every few years. Post 1750, they roll out the four field rotation. So it's like year 1, wheat uses lots of nutrients. Year 2, on the same piece of land, they grow turnips or other root plants, which help restore the soil and feed animals. Year 3, barley keeps production steady. Year 4, clover rebuilds soil fertility. Result, zero idle land. Soils recharged, yields level up. At the same time, Britain saw the rise of scientific farmers. They tested ideas, tried new tools, and shared results. Think seed drill that planted in neat rows at the right depth and spacing, so more seeds actually grew. Even many nobles and sometimes the king got hands-on with farm innovation. Across the English Channel in 18th century France, that kind of elite enthusiasm was much rarer. So, how did these farm upgrades start industry? Let's play connect the dots. More food means city folks don't starve, so urbanization surges. Bigger farm incomes led to people shopping like it's payday and gives factories customers, and that attracts investors who pour cash into transport and machines. Enclosure pushes farmers off the fields, so factories score a massive labor pool right on the doorstep. See the pattern? Britain's industrial boom wasn't one lonely twin track. Agriculture, people, money, markets, and rules all high-fived each other in an endless loop. When you write about this, show the bridges. Who passes the baton to whom? Now, pull the camera back. Welcome to Capitalism Central. Government plus merchants meant let's supersize the ports. Bigger docks, fast loading, smoother sailing. Meanwhile, the empire rolled out like a red carpet. Check this map. These orange-red blobs around 1900 are British turf. Think of the empire as a one-stop supply chain. Raw materials in, logistics sorted, finished goods out. Add it up, and British industry slams the full throttle button. Alright, we've covered farming and capitalism. Now cut to early mechanization, the superstar of the moment, the steam engine. Burn coal, boil water, make steam, and that steam pushes pistons that drive machines. Lucky Britain is basically sitting on a giant coal sofa with rivers for cup holders. Perfect. So what did steam actually do? It turned factory machines, it pulled locomotives, and it did all this for a bargain price, with blockbuster impact. Now, the other big mechanization story was textiles. Think of it as a chain reaction of inventions. Step 1, the flying shuttle. Suddenly, weaving sped up and became more consistent. Great news, until factories hit a new bottleneck. Not enough yarn. Step 2, the spinning jenny. It let a single worker spin many spools at once, so raw cotton could become usable thread much faster. Then steam power got added to both spinning and weaving. Boom! Britain's cotton industry scaled up fast. Better quality, lower prices. Cotton cloth went from elite luxury to everyday staple. Okay, none of this works without transport. Energy has to move, raw materials have to move, finished goods have to move. Here, Britain was blessed. By sea, Britain could reach Europe, the Mediterranean, and the Americas. Harbors galore, a mesh of go-with-the-flow rivers, Clyde, Mersey, Severn, the Thames. Mostly gentle hills, so road and rail building is budget-friendly. There was also a small policy hack, turnpike trusts. Starting in the mid to late 1700s, private groups could build or improve roads, and then charge tolls to recover costs and make a profit. Incentives worked. Road quality jumped. Food and goods moved around the country faster and cheaper, and business got livelier. For bulk cargo, water beat roads on cost. When Britain's demand for coal exploded in the late 1700s, the country went on a canal building spree. Signature example, the Bridgewater Canal. It linked the Worsley coal mines straight to Manchester. Transport costs plummeted, shareholders made money, and workers got steady jobs. Engineers solved tough problems like locks and tricky terrain, and the know-how they gained became the foundation for railway building later on. Now, for Britain's hidden bonus points, the geography and politics extras. Climate, mild and humid, which actually helps textile spinning because moisture keeps fibers from snapping. The southern tip of Great Britain sits around 50 degrees north, so temperatures stay relatively cool. Island factor. Being offshore meant Britain sat out a lot of continental wars, more political stability, fewer interruptions to trade. Geology jackpot. Mega coal seams close to rivers, ports, markets, and skilled labor. Cheap fuel, fast shipping. Momentum achieved. We've talked about why the Industrial Revolution began in Britain. Now, let's look at how it actually unfolded. Two big questions. How fast did it grow? What got fast and how fast? And why did growth speed up even more after 1780? If we call it a revolution, we mean big sweeping change, not minor tweaks. The hard numbers tell the story. Productivity shot up, costs fell, prices dropped, demand surged. And it wasn't just one or two lucky industries. Almost the whole manufacturing sector leveled up. One of the most visible facts, urbanization. People flood to cities. By 1850, most Britons live in towns and pockets are fatter. Manchester and Birmingham inflate like party balloons. From 1800 to the 1870s, some towns triple, others sextuple. So, why did growth accelerate after 1780? Think the factory system and a three-part engine that fed on itself: iron, steam power, and textiles. First, iron. Britain learned to make better, cheaper, more abundant iron. New techniques like the puddling process plus fresh investment meant stronger materials at lower cost. And iron is what you use to build the machines. Second, steam power. Early inventions got upgraded and scaled. James Watt upgraded the standard engine with a separate condenser and a rotating design. His machines power cotton mills, wool mills, ironworks, flour mills. Britain uses them at home, sells them abroad, pockets the cash, and pumps that cash back into better engines. Feedback loop engaged. Third, textiles, the beating heart. Wool and cotton sat at the center of Britain's early industrial growth. In the United States, the cotton gin cranked up supplies of cheap raw cotton. Back in Britain, a chain of inventions, the water frame and the spinning mill, among others, rewrote the rules. Fewer workers, lower prices, higher quality thread and cloth. Hook those machines up to James Watt's steam power and output soars while profits take off. By 1830, about 500,000 people worked in cotton spinning and weaving. Cotton had become Britain's leading industry, making up roughly 40% of exports. How did these three sectors lock together? Iron is the stuff you use to build machines for from steam engines to textile frames. Cheaper, better iron means cheaper, better machinery. Steam power replaces water wheels and muscle power in textile mills. Result: production explodes. That explosion in textiles then pours more iron for more machines and pushes improvements in steam technology for more power. Each sector feeds the others. And those three together spark even more industries: tool making, railways and canals, mining, construction, and beyond. All of it fits inside the growing factory system. A factory put scattered tasks together under one big roof. In 1769, Richard Arkwright built Britain's first modern factory in Derbyshire, right by the fast-flowing river Derwent. Hello, water power. Multi-story buildings, newest machines, and round-the-clock shifts. Workers were trained, supervised, and output exploded. Arkwright made an absolute fortune here. From 1770 to 1835, Britain built about 1,200 cotton mills and 1,300 woolen mills. When that many machines start humming, textile output goes off the charts. The factory system is a key reason Britain's industrialization ran so far, so fast. Industrial growth also rode on better transport. By the 1830s, a thick canal network linked the main navigable rivers, basically turning inland Britain into something as convenient as a coastline. Bulk goods, especially coal, could move far and cheap. Canal building itself created jobs which pushed urbanization even further. Then came the railway age. Around 1850, Britain had nearly 600 kilometers of track. George Stephenson's locomotives could hit around 48 kilometers per hour and haul massive loads of coal and freight. Why did railways slam the accelerate button? Because they crashed transport costs and spiked demand for both freight and passengers. Compared with canals and rivers, rail was faster, more reliable, and often cheaper. No winter ice to freeze you out, no droughts to strand your boat, and fierce competition between railway companies kept prices down. Customers loved it and basically said, "Yep, keep competing, I'm not stopping you." Lower shipping costs meant more reliable delivery, less risk, steadier profits, and very happy investors. Building railways meant tracks, stations, bridges, tunnels, thousands of jobs on site. Steady paychecks led to more spending and higher demand. No wonder later countries tried build infrastructure, boost jobs as an economic rescue plan. They were copying Britain's homework. Railways also turbocharged engineering, especially civil and mechanical. Those innovations didn't stay on the rails, they spilled over into other industries. And the more rails you lay, the more you devour iron, steel, and coal. Coal fires the steam engines and fuels iron making for rails, engines, and machines. Easy to see the loop. Don't forget the steamship, another game changer. Faster and more reliable than sail, and less at the mercy of the weather. 1819, the Savannah became the first steamship to cross the Atlantic. 1838, the Great Western, purpose-built for the Atlantic, did its first crossing in 14 days. 1843, Great Britain, the first iron-hulled ocean-going steamship launched. It is still run today as a museum ship in 2025. About 182 years old. Steamships supercharged Britain's imports and exports with India, North America, and the Far East. Raw materials time: coal, iron, cotton, and wool. Coal first. Britain had a lot. Once transport improved and prices fell, coal could be shipped almost anywhere in the country at a reasonable cost. Britain also had different grades of coal for different processes, a very handy menu. Iron ore next. Many easily mined iron deposits sat near big coal fields. Result: large-scale iron making popped up in those regions. Mass-produced iron, ship it out by canal or rail, and every industry finds a use for it. That's the chain. More iron led to faster industrialization. Textile raw materials: cotton and wool. Cotton was imported. Britain didn't grow it at home, and it rocketed in importance as mechanization drove prices down and demand up. Wool was mostly domestic. It grew steadily, but not as explosively as cotton. Okay, so we've explained why Britain industrialized so fast in factories, transport, and raw materials. Now let's add markets and free trade to the mix. Britain's population boomed, wages rose. That meant more people could afford to buy things. So the whole market got bigger fast. Overseas demand also surged. From 1750 to 1850, British exports shot up almost like a straight line on the graph. Sales poured into North America and the West Indies and Asia and Europe. In the late 1700s and early 1800s, Britain was the first country to industrialize at scale. So, in manufactured goods like textiles, it had few serious rivals. Profits very healthy. Government policy helped too. Britain kept many tariffs low and sometimes scrapped them altogether. They cleared up a path for free trade, letting capital and goods move with fewer barriers. Alright, after all the building and exporting, what changed inside Britain? Two big things: urbanization and political shockwaves. Protest, reform, machine breaking, and pressure on parliament. First, urbanization. City populations didn't just grow, they multiplied. A new middle class was mass-produced, so to speak, and stepped onto the stage. But early British cities had almost no planning. Housing, sanitation, sewers, a mess. Later, Britain rolled out public health and urban regulation laws, but they arrived late, moved slowly, and were lightly enforced. Results mixed at best. Workplaces weren't much better. Unsafe conditions, long hours, harsh discipline. Women were paid less. Child labor pushed kids to the limit. Only a small number of good employers did better. Most factories were sweatshops, plain and simple. Who benefited and who didn't? Aristocrats with land and capital mostly kept winning. The middle class, entrepreneurs, inventors, factory owners, architects, lawyers, station managers, they grew fast. As for the working class, most didn't gain much at first. Hard lives, low pay, little security. The main exception was some skilled workers. They often earned 2 to 3 times a common laborer and had steadier jobs. How did the state respond? Slowly. Not until the 1830s did Parliament pass meaningful reforms on working hours, child labor ages, and basic education for child workers. Even then, the impact was limited. Most of the Industrial Revolution, across most of the Industrial Revolution, working conditions stayed really poor. Discontent bubbled up in both countryside and cities. By the late 1700s, enclosures, weak rural relief, and rising food prices fueled scattered rural riots, which the government suppressed quickly. The most famous backlash was the Luddite movement. The response: troops sent in, harsh crackdowns, leaders jailed and punished. No surprise, machine breaking didn't stop industrialization. Still, Parliament did inch forward. In the 1830s, reforms, though slow, did happen. And in the 1840s, the Chartist movement kept pressure on the system, pushing politicians to take workers' interests more seriously. What about unions? In the 18th and early 19th centuries, their results were limited. Why? Deep splits between skilled and unskilled workers. Lots of small local unions and no unified program. Only by the late 19th century did mass union movements begin to make real economic and political waves. Let's zoom in on the Labour Party, founded in 1900. Its mission was simple but bold: get the working class into Parliament. So they finally had a real political voice in the House of Commons. Over the 20th century, Labour Party stood toe-to-toe with the Conservatives, becoming Britain's major democratic socialist party. And in July 2024, Labour won a landslide. Keir Starmer became Prime Minister, one of the most eye-catching victories in Labour Party's history. Now, for the big takeaway. To truly get the British Industrial Revolution, you need cause and effect thinking. Switch on that causal thinking plugin and trace the chain end to end. What caused what? Which factor triggered the next? How did feedback loops make the whole thing accelerate. Without cause and effect, the Industrial Revolution feels like a messy stew. With it, everything clicks, and your scores go up too. In this video, we used maps and illustrations with a few snapshots from a huge mind map file to lay out the Industrial Revolution's logic step by step. The framework you see is complete, but the details and deep dives are yours to explore next. If you want the full version, I've built a mega mind map over 1,700 branches, bilingual Chinese-English, loaded with maps, primary sources, and a crystal clear logical structure. Here's how to get it. Go to the 开史openstory WeChat public account, send the code ASO 周史 and you may unlock the editable version of the complete mind map and this lesson's slide deck. There are also matching mind maps for the French Revolution, German Unification, and Russian Revolution. Same clean logic, full detail, bilingual with images and sources. You can unfold the big picture and zoom into the facts as you like. Unlock them the same way. If this video helped, like, save, and share. That's it for today. See you next time.